Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here with another Master Duel video for you guys. Today in this one we are going to be taking yet another look at our Adamancipator deck. However, the more observant among you might already see that there are definitely differences in this build from our previous iteration. And the main difference is going to be the inclusion of, well, spells that aren't, sync as light. So I talked about this in the metagame the Season 3 metagame analysis, where, we saw a downward trend in Senka's Light, which is also reflecting what I observed the whole time I've been playing this deck this season, which is that Senka's Light really not that essential. Or not Senka, it's Seka, sorry. Senka's Light is really not that essential to the Adamancipator deck as a whole. It's good acceleration, which occasionally you do need. There are some times where you just have like a completely dead hand. But honestly, the times where you have that, and also have a Seka's Light to get you out of that, is just so few and far between, as opposed to the times where tools like Called By, like Lightning Storm, like Forbidden Droplet, are so much more useful. I think these are just like the right choice to add. So in, I believe, the last time we played Adamancipators, we did add this Tackle Crusader to our deck. Which is another relatively recent addition, and also a very, very good addition. It's just another way to get over floodgates, both in the forms of monsters and in spells and traps. Otherwise, the list has remained mostly the same. I think it's a pretty solid list, and I don't know that there's any other changes I want to make at this time. The Adamancipator list, both in terms of the main and extra deck, are definitely more flexible than something like Tri-Zoo. But again, I'm pretty satisfied with this list I've been testing at this time. This is the list that, as the video implies, that I am going to be using in Season 4. The past 3 seasons I have exclusively laddered up to Platinum 1 with Tri-Brigade Zoodiac, and I do still plan on using Tri-Zoo to ladder, but this time I'm going to mix things up, and I'm going to use Adamancipator probably more during the early stages, like so when I'm in breaking up from gold to plat, as opposed when I get into plat I might switch over to Tri-Zoo because it's a more solid deck and it's one I have more experience with. But I've been playing Adamancipator a fair bit this season. I've tried to work it into my repertoire as like another main deck, so to speak. But in any case, let's go ahead and run through this list real quick, and then we'll take a look at some games. So of course we've got a Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, 3 Maxx, 1 Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion, 2 Doki Doki, Prank-Kids Dropsies, Adamancipator Seeker, 2 Doki Doki, 1 Dropsies, 3 Adamancipator Seeker, 3 Adamancipator Researcher, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Gigantes, 3 Koa'ki Mirror Guardian, 1 Tackle Crusader, 3 Prank-Kids Rocksies, 3 Adamancipator Analyzer, 3 Koa'ki Mirror Supplier, 3 Block Dragon, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Lightning Storm, 2 Called By the Grave, and 2 Forbidden Droplet. Now down here in the extra deck we've got a Herald of the Arc Light, Adamancipator Risen Raptite, Borreload Savage Dragon, Adamancipator Risen Dragite, 1 Gallant Granite, Leak Spider, Prank-Kids Meow Meow Moo, Crystron Halki Fibrax, Nightmare Phoenix, Prank-Kids Dodo Doodle Doo, IP Masquerena, Union Carrier, Nightmare Phoenix, Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, and Access Code Talker. So I think also in the last video I talked I think it was in comments actually, now that I think about it. I talked about taking this Herald of the Arc Light out of the extra deck because I literally never make it. I don't know, I guess there have been situations where I could make it, but I still usually just tend not to. And yeah, I do plan on taking this card out of the extra deck actually. I'm going to slot in Baronness de Fluer when she comes out into this extra deck in place of Herald of the Arc Light, which I'm actually pretty stoked about because it's pretty easy for us to have situations where we have like a level 2 tuner and a block dragon, and we don't really have a whole lot to do with them. And you can just sink those into Baronness de Fluer, which is nuts. That card is nuts. I've seen some people kind of say like, oh, like Adamancipator doesn't need another like boss monster that has an Omni Negate. It needs more things against Maxx. Which, yeah, it could use ways to stop Maxx more than it could use another Omni Negate boss monster, but I'm not going to turn my nose up at another Omni Negate boss monster, and I think Baronness de Fluer I don't think it's going to be a win more inclusion of this deck. Like I said, the scenario where you have a level 2 tuner and a block dragon and not really a whole lot else to do with them isn't that uncommon, and this will let you actually go into another play, you know, with those. Like, it'll just give you more options to like have another piece of your ending board. It'll also be pretty good to add, because like sometimes it's hard to go into Dragite, right? On our first turn. Like, it's pretty easy to set up Appaloosa plus Warlord, but it's not, for me anyway, it's pretty 50-50 of whether I can actually set up a Dragite or not. Just kind of depends. Usually depends if I am able to hit an Analyzer off of, like, you know, the Raptite or something. But the Baronness de Fluer gives us another pretty easy access, like Omni Negate, to add to our board. So in that regard, she might even be like better than Dragite in a decent amount of scenarios. So yeah, once Baronness de Fluer comes out, I'm going to remove the Herald of the Arc Light from the extra deck and then put the Baronness in. Okay, so let me see, is there anything else I want to talk about the main deck? No, not particularly. I think the rest of this is fairly standard. There are still some other tech options I'm looking at, like Rock Band Xeno Guitar, or is it Xeno Band Rock Guitar? It's something like that. I think it's Rock Band Xeno Guitar. That's definitely an interesting card that I've been meaning to try out a little bit more. I tried it like a bit, and I didn't really like, you know, have an opportunity to see a whole lot of special use out of it, but that's something you could slot in over maybe like a Tackle Crusader or something. I've also seen people talk about and kind of considered playing a second Gigantes, because it's definitely a good, like, accelerator. Especially on turns where you have something like Rocksies and, like, really nothing else. Like, because as we know, Rocksies plus Supplier is enough to get you off and, like, get your plays started. So, like, Rocksies plus Gigantes is enough to do that as well. Again, I just like if I was gonna put in a second Gigantes, it'd probably be in the Tackle Crusader slot, and I just like Tackle Crusader too much right now. So yeah, that's where I'm at with the deck. Like I said, I'm pretty satisfied where it is. I'm still considering other options, and of course we're going to change it up once Baronness de Fluer comes out. But okay, that's enough about the deck itself here. Let's go ahead and take a look at some games. Okay, let's take a look at this first replay here. This replay I actually wanted to show you guys because I think this is a really cool one to demonstrate what you can do with just a single Adamancipator monster, potentially. So you see this hand, we can really only start off with, you know, Seeker and, you know, getting the reveal here and just hoping that we hit something good. Well, we hit plenty of things that were good. I'm going to go with a Doki Doki and go into the Rocksies play. Of course, by discarding a Rocksies to summon a Rocksies. And from here on, like, you know, I've got my Seeker, I've got my Doki Doki, and I'm starting to get my Prank-Kids line set up, like, and then, of course, I even, you know, have a Gigantes as a potential accelerator as well. Like, I know I can full combo at this point. And that's really the kind of cool thing about this deck, right? Is even hands that look dead can produce an awesome board. Because again, remember, we just started this off just now just by normal summoning Seeker and then excavating. I mean, yeah, it's also easy for that excavate to whiff and then we have to pass. That definitely happens sometimes, but it's just, I don't know, I had to show this off because this is something I really, really like about this deck, is that it can just take one effect resolving to just snowball into a huge board like this. And I think to a degree that's also kind of the appeal of Adamancipators, maybe in general, but maybe just to me, I don't know. I just really like this idea of a deck where it's like, you don't know how your combo is going to play out until you actually start it. I said it in, I think, the Adamancipator deck profile, how this deck, or the Season 3 deck profile anyway, where this deck is a lot like that, you know, that Michael Scott quote where he's like, sometimes I don't know how I'm going to end a sentence, I just hope I find it along the way. That's literally exactly how comboing in this deck is. And it's fun. I don't know, there's just something really fun about it. So yeah, it's yeah, if you want to see more like kind of like tips, I guess, on how to find these lines of play, I do have a combo guide that I put up, and the link to that should be in the description below. And that's the thing about Adamancipator that's pretty cool too, is that, like, it's not about memorizing specific lines of play. Like, you know, most combo decks, it's like, okay, you start with this plus this, that means you can go into, you know, whatever, such and such play. But with Adamancipator, the skill is not really like memorizing the combos. It's more about knowing like what to look for, which again I talk about in depth a bit more in my combo guide video for this deck. But yep, so that game just, you know, ended on my first turn. Obviously we didn't even get to finish our full combo, but I just wanted to show that one because again it's just a really good example of how one Adamancipator monster, one Excavate, is literally all it can take to actually like combo out, which is really, really cool. Okay, let's go ahead into the next game. Alright, here's our next replay. This one's against 60 card Skull Servants, if you can believe it. But we do get the first turn here, which is pretty good. We got a fairly good starting hand. Rocksies plus Researcher, always a very solid start. Rocksies in general is a really good start. I call it the Prank-Kids line. It's where you know, summon Rocksies, send it for, we're about to do it here. You summon Rocksies, send it away for Meow Meow Moo. Rocksies effect to summon Droplet. You get to cycle a card just as a bonus. And then you link away the Meow Meow Moo and the Droplet for Prank-Kids Do, and then you use Droplet's effect to summon another Rocksies from your deck, which basically, by including the 1 Droplets in our main deck, along with the 3 Rocksies, as well as the 2 extra deck slots, you can basically get a free link 2 in addition to Rocksies whenever you summon Rocksies, which is very, very handy for making Appaloosa, or potentially also access code if you're going second. Sorry if my throat sounds a little like bleh right now. I might sound a bit different. I sound a little different to myself anyway. I don't know, I just woke up, so yep, just woke up, and first thing I'm thinking about is making that Adamancipator video, because I love this deck. I mean, I love this game, honestly, in general, but yep, I especially do love this deck. Nope, so it's always nice to have Block Dragon without having to go out of your way to make Gallant Granite, because that can actually be a lot of the times what keeps you from being able to play or being able to make Dragite, is that you have to go into Gallant Granite. That's kind of why I said in one of my videos, I think when we were talking about the ban list, I was talking about how like in a best of 1 format, Block Dragon 1 might actually be a more significant change than some people think. And the reason I think that is because like in best of 1, you know, having to go out of your way to make Gallant Granite to get Block Dragon, or like maybe even having a line where you can't go out of your way to make Gallant Granite, but you have to like just combo into an Appaloosa or something. Like, you have weird hands like that sometimes, and it's nice to be able to just have Block Dragon, not having to worry about it. So that's why I think going down to 1 might potentially affect Adamancipators. It would be a very slight affection, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it would be a huge hit. But it could be enough to tone down the deck. I don't know. I'm also pretty biased. Like, obviously, I love this deck, and for that reason, I would prefer that Block Dragon isn't banned. However, I also freely acknowledge that Block Dragon is a ridiculous card. Speaking of ridiculous, we got our full 5 negate setup here. This is one of the games where we actually did get to go into Dragite, again, because we didn't have to go out of our way to go into Gallant Granite. Our opponent's got Droplet, though. Interestingly enough, they choose not to negate the Appaloosa, but instead they negate Block Dragon here. I'm not really sure why they went out of their way to do that. I think maybe they thought this Lightning Storm was going to destroy the Block Dragon, but nope, I summoned it in defense mode, so it will in fact survive. Which is why I always put Block Dragon in defense mode. I mean, you know, it's easy to think like, oh, it can't be destroyed by card effect. I don't have to play around Lightning Storm. But here we have a scenario where, you know, I played around Lightning Storm and it actually paid off. I played around the negate plus Lightning Storm and it actually, you know, paid off. We'll also throw the Supplier down on the board just because, you know, we can. So yeah, that is still really annoying though, because obviously we would have much rather had our full board that just got cleared, but you know, it's not like we're out of stuff in the extra deck. We still have access code, we still have, I mean, access code as our big boss monster. We also still have Nightmare Unicorn. Gallant Granite is still in here for other potential plays as well. But honestly, I don't really think we're even going to need to do all that much to be able to, you know, take the game from here. We also, yeah, haven't used our Crystron Halki Fibrax yet. And of course, since it's a new turn, we get to add with Block Dragon once again. Yeah, that's kind of the other thing I like about Adamancipators too, is like, yeah, you do blow through a lot of your extra deck on like the first turn. However, that doesn't really always mean that you're just, you know, SOL if your turn 1 board gets answered. I mean, like I said, we still have Access Code Talker here, as well as a multitude of other plays. I mean, it's still, even without like much of an extra deck, we do not have a hard time getting 8,000 damage on the board. We really, really don't. And usually if our opponent is investing the resources to clear our board of 5 negates, then they're not going to have much. I mean, as you can see, they don't have much left after that. They had to pretty much pitch their whole hand with Forbidden Droplet in order to get a chance to Lightning Storm our board. So here I'm going to go for maybe a bit of overkill, but I just wanted to make sure I had the win, you know. We're going to go for the access code and the Nightmare Unicorn just to get rid of the monster, and then of course we put far more than enough damage on our board. Block Dragon is actually another reason why it's not really a big deal if you have to come back after blowing through a lot of your extra deck, because Block Dragon is always just a free 2,500 damage just to push for lethal, and just a free big body as well. It is a pretty busted card, and it probably should get get hit in all fairness, but again, I'm a little biased. Okay, let's go on to the next game. Okay, here we've got our next game against good old Sky Strikers this time. We once again get the first turn, which is obviously always preferable. Here I try to go for my Summon Seeker and excavate into a full board play once again, but this time I'm going to get Veilored. And as soon as I see Veilor, I already have a sneaking suspicion it's Sky Striker, because Veilor is actually fairly uncommon in this format, but I know Sky Striker is one of the decks that almost always plays it, and sure enough, this Rhoda for Ray confirms it. I mean, even just Rhoda coming down, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's Sky Striker. So this is a bit worrying, honestly, because the only hand trap we have here is Maxx, which is, like, pretty meh against Sky Striker, to be honest. Especially in situations like this, because like if they normal summon Ray and you try to chain Maxx, they can chain Ray to the Maxx and then get their summon and then potentially leave you without any draws. Fortunately, they whiff here, and actually I gotta pause this to talk about this, because I know I just talked about how you shouldn't discard Ray or Maxx in response to Ray being normal summoned, and I just did anyway. So the reason that I did that in this scenario is actually because I had already played first, and my opponent's now going second. So I figure if they're going to want to like really get the full Sky Striker setup, they're gonna have to, like, you know, link into Hayate, bash with Hayate, and then potentially link away into Kaigiri to get back whatever they sent with Hayate, and then from Kaigiri go into Shizuku. So even though, like, chaining Maxx in response to Ray, like, yeah, they can just chain Ray's effect. My opponent actually didn't hear. I guess because they wanted to get in the extra 1,500 damage. I guess they figured that was worth a draw. I don't think it is personally, but, you know, whatever. Yeah, so even though they could have chained Ray's effect in response to my Maxx, I still wanted to use Maxx there to either, one, still get 2 draws out of the other 2 link summons they were going to do, or 2, discourage them from doing those link summons, which would be the optimal play, which is obviously better for me if my opponent is not setting up optimal boards. But like I said, our opponent chose not to chain Ray's effective response to Maxx. They do it instead here during the battle phase, so they can get an extra 1,500 damage in, which again I don't think is worth the card in this scenario, but you know, more power to them. And they're going to get the Kaigiri. Sorry, I was trying to check the graveyard there. They actually ended up sending a Widow Anchor instead of an Engage, which is a little surprising to me, especially because they don't have 3 spells in the grave set up yet. I think Engage was definitely the correct search here, honestly. Especially because you know I'm playing Adamancipator. Like one monster negate is not that effective, honestly. They will grab Engage during the end phase here. But yeah, like, I mean, even then, like, why get the Widow Anchor back when you could Engage, search for Widow Anchor, and then get another draw? I don't really understand, but okay. Maybe they're just not very experienced with Sky Striker yet. So I'm going to start by normal summoning Rocksies, and then going into Meow Meow Moo, which is going to let me special summon Supplier. And I implied earlier that Rocksies plus Supplier is, like, enough to full out combo. And so we'll get to see a bit of that here. I'm gonna banish Droplet with Roxy's effect because it's Sky Striker. Droplet's not really useful at all against them. Yeah, and then we continue with the Prank-Kids line, linking the Meow Meow Moo and Dropsies into Dodo Doodle Doo. This will trigger Dropsies' effect. The extra life points are a nice little bonus. It has come up, it's been relevant in games before. And then we also get the free Roxies out of the deck as well. So I'm going to link away, or I'm going to summon the Block Dragon, and I'm going to link away everything into access code Talker. By the way, if we didn't already have Block Dragon there, the way you would continue that line from there is you would overlay the Rocksies and Supplier into Gallant Granite, search the Block Dragon, summon it, and then, you know, just go from there. So opponent's going to flip Widow Anchor to negate our access code. I don't, you know, it's going to lose attack, but whatever, I don't really care. At this point, victory is, like, I don't want to call it assured, but I mean, like, look at this. Like, what are they going to do? I'm actually thinking back, I mean, there's no way we don't win. Like, I know the game ends on this turn. And, I mean, just, yeah, look at our hand, look at our board. Yeah, it's the thing that really gets to me about Block Dragon is that you can get up to 3. Like, the first time I read it, I actually, like, nerfed it in my own head. And I thought you just searched a level 8 or lower rock monster, and I was like, okay, this is pretty good, but I don't see why people think it should be banned. And then I realized, oh, wait, you can add up to 3, like, whose total levels are 8? Yeah, you know, honestly, the more I talk about it, the more I'm removing my own personal bias. And honestly, yeah, Block Dragon probably does need to get banned. Which, I know, would suck for Adamancipator. The deck becomes very meh without Block Dragon, but it is what it is. I'll honestly probably still try it. I wonder if it's going to happen I say this ban unless, like, it's upcoming, like it's been announced. I guess I just woke up. I don't think it's been announced anyway. I haven't really checked, like, the subreddit or the Discord or anything, but... Yeah, it is the 30th, the date is actually that I'm recording this. So, yeah, even though this is me showing off the deck I'm using for Season 4, obviously it's, you know, not Season 4 just yet. Yeah, so it's weird, because we actually have a bit of a gap between when the new packs come out versus the start of the season. And I kind of actually want to get as much laddering done during that time as possible, because it'd be really nice to be Plat 1 and not have to worry about dropping ranks as I'm testing out a bunch of new stuff. I do want to try at least one of the new archetypes. I'm not sure which one yet. I kind of want to invest in Despia, obviously in anticipation of Branded coming out in the future, but also because Despia looks kind of cool. So I might mess around with that deck a bit. Obviously it's not going to be like quite as full power, but I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next game. Okay, so this duel here is going to be against Dragon Maids. This will be another solid back and forth. I tried to omit replays that were only just like me comboing off and then my opponent conceding, except obviously for that one, because I just wanted to show off it was, you know, with just a Seeker. Anyway, yep, so our opponent is playing Dragon Maids here. Once again, I would have liked a better hand trap than only Maxx here, but we'll still be able to use it in response to the Dragon Maid changeover, which is my least favorite card to see in this deck, because honestly, I don't think playing against Dragon Maids is too bad unless the fusions come out, and then it starts to get a little, sometimes it can start to get a little dicey. I don't know, I've seen a couple of requests asking if I would play Dragon Maids. I think I've said it before in comment replies, but I'll say it here. I gotta be totally candid, I'm not particularly interested in the deck right now. I'm not saying I'll never ever, you know, build it, but like, it's just not on my radar, honestly. I actually find Dragon Maids a bit annoying to play against because, you know, they do so much on your turn, which I know, I'm the Tri-Zoo player, I'm one to talk about that, but with Dragon Maids, it's like every standby phase and every battle phase, they're just always doing effects. You know, and not to say I hate the deck or anything, I definitely don't. It's a neat deck, but I don't know, not one I particularly enjoy playing against, and not one I'm particularly interested in playing myself, just to be quite honest. Yep, so I don't have a problem banishing the O-Lion here, because we are not going to really need Crystron, Halki, Fibrax, because we've got the Dodo-Doodle-Doo. One thing to note when you're comboing is that you always want to set up your Link 2 monster in the graveyard before you go into your synchro plays, because obviously if you don't have a Link monster in graveyard when you synchro summon Borreload Savage Dragon, that's going to be a problem. And you can do a Link 1 monster if you have to, but it's better to get a Link 2 monster equipped to Borreload just to have the extra Omni Negate there. Yeah, so this was kind of a weird hand where, like, I don't really have much to do. Like, I don't have much extension after this block dragon, so I'm just going to have to kind of end on Appaloosa plus block dragon here. I decided it would be better than trying to go for a secret play. Like, the secret play into Raptite could have potentially, that excavate could have, like, potentially gotten me, you know, more plays, but, like, I'd rather have the certainty of block dragon, honestly. Not only being in grave to bring back later, but also, like, if it does get removed, I get a whole bunch of searches, and then the next turn I can just completely combo out, so... Yep, I'm going to Appaloosa, the Dragon Maid here, the Power Dragon Maid, but I admittedly did forget that the, you know, Dragon Maid Sue here would be able to negate. Fortunately, though, oh, no, sorry, I remember this game. I actually didn't forget that. That's right, I wanted the House Dragon Maid to come out because I knew it didn't have a quick effect that would be able to disrupt me on my turn. Of course, my opponent's going to have the changeover anyway, which I did forget about. That was the misplay. I knew there was like a bit of a misplay here in this line somewhere, so that's right, that's where it was. So yeah, our opponent does get another Dragon Maid Shu out. Shu? I mean, I know it's just an anagram of house, but I'm not really sure how that's pronounced. Anyway, yeah, they're gonna Prosperity for, what was it, an Ash? Which, you know, that's fine. I guess the cool thing about this deck is, like, while we are really susceptible to... And then they don't Ash here, which is really weird. Unless they Ashed already this turn? No, they didn't. I don't know why they didn't Ash that Block Dragon. Maybe they couldn't for some reason. Maybe it's because it was on, like, the same... Oh, no, I don't think it was the same chain link. No, they Prosperity'd for the Ash. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't Ash my Block Dragon there, but whatever. Maybe it was a misclick. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I've got the full, you know, I've got all 3 Adamancipator tuners. I've got a Gigantes, I've got a Supplier, I've got a Doki. Like, there's no way I can't, you know, combo out here. Especially now that I've used up the Shoes activation. Okay, now they Ash my Doki Doki here, which again is, like, too little too late at this point. I've still got the Researcher and the Seeker. And yet we can Tackle Crusader to put that face down. I didn't think we particularly, like, it's not super duper important, but it's neat to be able to do. Might have even been better to put this one, the Chamber, face down. Although I guess I probably just did this to make it easier to run over. Okay, we're just doing more excavates here. I know, like, generally speaking, I tend to prefer live replays over, or I tend to prefer live games over replays, but I don't know, with Adamancipator, half the time the live games do just end up being me comboing out on turn 1, and then my opponent conceding, but and it's like, I don't know, to get more quality live games just takes longer with this deck, so I kind of prefer, I don't know if I prefer necessarily, but I'm a little bit more willing to dip into the replay format with Adamancipator. So I guess I wonder what you guys think. I know generally you guys prefer the live replays, and generally speaking, I prefer to do those too when I have the time to, which generally I do have the time to. Generally. How many times can I say generally? But yeah, we're going to go into Dragite here, bounce their full board, and then they realize, of course, that they cannot win at this point, so we are able to take the W there. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next game. Okay, this next tool here is going to be against Altergeist, which I love running into Altergeist on ladder because I just think it's such a cool deck. I don't get to play it often enough because I'm always too busy playing Adamancipator and Tri-Zoo, but I don't know. It's Altergeist is very much my pet deck, right? Like I love it. I just think it's a cool deck. So yep, they're going to flip Personal Spoofing and get off their multi-faker play here. I'm going to throw down Maxx, and this interaction that you're about to see here is actually like the main reason I kept this replay. So they chain Ash Blossom, right? I'm going to call by the Ash. And I actually, like, when I was actually playing live, and you can actually already see what's even going to happen next. But yeah, when I was playing live, I did actually, like, pause and think about this for a good, like, minute or so. Like, whether I wanted to use the Called By against the Ash now, or try to save it for a Maxx later. But I figured, whatever, they've only got one other card left in hand. It's probably not a Maxx, and I even, like, thought to myself, it's probably not even another hand trap. But lo and behold, it ended up being Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, which I actually don't run into that often. So, yeah, after this 5 chain link back and forth over this Altergeist multi-faker activation, it is going to resolve without me getting Maxx off, which, whatever. I'm not really that hugely concerned about it because I still have Analyzer plus Rocksies here. I'm a little bit worried here if maybe they have a protocol face down, but fortunately they do not. So we get the excavation off here. And then we even reveal the Koa'ki Mirror Guardian. So yeah, I don't have to worry about the Silquitus effect. I can just go ahead and Guardian to negate and destroy that after I normal summon Rocksies. And then from here, you know, we've got Rocksies plus, like, pretty much Rocksies plus any other monster on board means you're going to be able to, like, go off. Any other level 4 monster, let me say. And then, yeah, my opponent conceded at that point. So that's kind of an example of a replay I normally wouldn't keep. Like I was talking about in the last game, but I don't know. It was just entertaining that exchange over the Maxx there. And yeah, I wasn't expecting the Ghost Spell in Haunted Mansion to come out. I see it like recommended in a lot of decks, but I really don't see it played that much. I think Ghost Spell in Haunted Mansion is a much better best of 3 card than a best of 1 card. I wouldn't even necessarily call it exclusively a side deck card, but, like, you know, in a best of 3 format, you can afford to play a bit more of a niche hand trap like Ghost Spell in Haunted Mansion, because if it's not useful against the deck you're playing, you just side it out after game 1. So, okay, yep, we've got one more game to look at here. Let's go ahead and start it up. Okay, final game here is going to be against a Gren Maju stun deck, and I wanted to keep this one because this is actually a pretty good game to show the effectiveness of Tackle Crusader and how we can play around back rows using Tackle Crusader. It'll also get to show a bit more of a niche use of Droplet. I mean, I'm sure you can probably already see where I'm going with that, but yeah, we normal summon the Analyzer, and our opponent flips with not only Summon Limit, but also Vanity's Emptiness, and I'm like, okay. I think that's definitely extra. Like, I don't know why you would flip Vanity's Emptiness in addition to the Summon Limit here. Well, actually, let me say this much. I will say that flipping this just the Summon Limit here, if they just only chained that, I could have normal summoned Tackle Crusader and then linked them away for Crystron, Halki, Fibrax, and then Tackle Crusader could have flipped the Summon Limit. But even then, you could still chain Vanity's Emptiness at some point during that. I don't know. I don't know why they flipped both face up. I don't think that's the right play, but they did. I mean, it's going to stop us, I guess, so. They're going to Extravagance here. I'll go ahead and Ash it because obviously I don't want them to get any more extra draws than they need. And of course, as now a card was sent from the field to the graveyard, they lose their Vanity's Emptiness that they just flipped. So we do still have the Summon Limit to contend with, but... Alright, and now here is what I want to talk about. Sorry, not here. Here, I want to talk about this interaction right here. This is also one of the main reasons I kept this replay. So, what would you do in this scenario? I don't know why I'm pausing, like I'm actually waiting for somebody to like respond to me, but like I think it's pretty common for most people to flip up Droplet here to avoid taking a whole bunch of damage, right? Because that's a pretty natural instinct, right? We see someone attacking us directly for 6,000. It's like, oh god, I have the means to prevent a lot of this damage. I should do that with Droplet, right? No, because if I play Droplet now and I discard Tackle Crusader now, like I'll get to bounce their Summon Limit, and sure, they can't activate it, but they can still set it, and then they can just activate it on my next turn, and then I just lose, right? Like, sure, I've prevented 3,000 damage from the Gren Maju to Iza, but I don't have a follow-up play, and the Gren Maju is going to just be at 6,000 during, you know, my turn, and then their next turn anyway, and then I still have the threat to deal with. So, and I actually did, when I was playing live, you know, I stopped and I thought about this for a second, because I was like, okay, how many worlds, like, in what world is it right to Droplet here? Like, and I ultimately came to the conclusion that there really was none. Like, we have 8,000 life points, and this is a point that I've touched on before, but not said a whole lot. It's really easy to think of your life points as a score, like to kind of fall into that trap, and in that regard, like, want to kind of conserve your life points. Like, my life points, you know, if they hit 0, I lose, so I should do everything I can to keep them from falling, right? No, not necessarily, because the right way to view life points is to view them as a resource, and that's exactly how I'm using them in this scenario, right? I'm using my life points as a resource to take the hit. I have 8,000 of them, so I'll even just hit play, and I take the hit of 6,000 without flipping Droplet to protect the damage, because I can afford to take the hit, save the Droplet for my next turn to flip it up negate whichever one of these two, doesn't even matter. I mean, I'll negate the Grand Maju anyway to make it more easy to run over, but it doesn't even really matter. I'm mainly just wanting to discard the Tackle Crusader on my turn to bounce the summon limit and then, you know, actually be able to do things. So again, it might seem really scary sometimes to just like take 6,000 damage, but because I took 6,000 damage, I'm actually just going to win the game here. Because like I said, now I'm able to bounce their summon limit back to their hand, and now I can summon Guardian, special Seeker. I even drew Seeker. I even drew the Researcher to also special. So now I can go into that, and from there, like, we get our Excavates, and it's pretty much over at this point. Like, they don't have a hand trap. I mean, they could still have like a Nibiru or something at this point. I mean, I don't think this deck typically plays Nibiru, but you do always want to be a bit cautious in that regard. That's why I like that I have the 2 Koa'ki Mirror Guardians up. Like, Koa'ki Mirror Guardian is just such a good card in this deck. Just always making sure that your plays are going to go off safely. And I mean, at this point, like, I've got it. Like, even if I whiff on this Raptite, which I think I actually do now that I remember. No, I did reveal a Seeker, but I mean, at this point, I can sink the Researcher and the Raptites, or the Seeker that I excavated, whatever. I can make Dragite, I can bounce my opponent's board, and I can just smack him with the Guardians and the Dragite for game, which is going to end up being exactly what I do here. I guess if I hadn't revealed 2 rocks, I would have had to, like, go into some weird place to get rid of their board, but it would have worked out, I'm sure. Like I said, we're going to smack him with both Guardians and then the Dragite for lethal. So yeah, like I said, I wanted to show that game to not only show off the usefulness of Tackle Crusader and Droplet in this scenario, but again also to demonstrate how we were able to use our life points as a resource to win the game, which is not always readily apparent when you're just, like, you know, describing how to do that. So it's nice that we got a good in-game live example about it. Okay, yep, that is all the games that I have lined up for you guys for today. Let's go ahead and take one last look at the deck as always before we sign off. Alright guys, thank you as always for watching. I super duper appreciate it, especially when you're watching to the end like this. Yeah, Adamancipators, like, I'm still super duper enthralled with this deck. Honestly, there is a part of me, a small part, mind you, I would have liked to have seen a ban list update, honestly, but there's a small part of me that's a bit relieved there wasn't one, because, like, I don't know if I'm certain Block Dragon's gonna get hit, but it's not unlikely, you know, and I just really love this deck, and I want to keep playing it, so, yeah, I guess I'm willing to put up with no ban list for another format if it means I get to play more Adamancipators. Yeah, as always, if you have any suggestions for the deck, feel free to leave comments below. I love seeing comments from you guys. I love interacting with the comments, and honestly, you guys have given me excellent suggestions pretty consistently in the past, so yeah, I love hearing from you. Like I said before, I'm appreciative if you're commenting, I'm appreciative if you're watching to the end, especially appreciative if you're subscribing, but, you know, don't feel like you have to. As long as you're along for the ride with me, that is A-okay with me. But, yeah, this is Sexlex signing out. I gotta throw in my little... there. I also always do finger guns when I do it. I know I don't have, like, a face cam, so you can't see it, but it just completes it for me. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me in this one. I'm signing off, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day.